ఓ వందే శంభుముమాపతిం సురగురుం వందే జగత్కారణం వందే పన్నగభూషణం శశిధరం వందే పశూనాం పతిం వందే సూర్యశశాంక వన్నినయనం వందే ముకుందప్రియం వందే భక్తజన ఆశ్రయం చ వరదం వందే భక్తజన ఆశ్రయం చ వరదం వందే శివం శంకరం. Friends, Yogi Vivekananda is essentially a humanist. He is also basically a rationalist. Humanism is necessary to become a karma yogi. Rationalism is necessary to become a jnana yogi. Swami Vivekananda is both a karma yogi and a jnana yogi. He is also a Raja yogi and a bhakta. We shall see those dimensions later. Now, everybody is blessed with an intellect, brain, thinking faculty, questioning ability. There is curiosity in every one of us. We would like to know the truth. But the difference between Swami Vivekananda and the ordinary people is he uses his brain power, he uses his intellectual capacities, whereas the same abilities are lying dormant or dull in the ordinary human beings. Swami Vivekananda is neither a theist nor an atheist in the beginnings. He is an agnostic. Not only Swamiji, everybody is an agnostic. Agnostic is a person who does not believe in the existence of God, nor does he believe in the non-existence of God. If we believe in the existence of God, where is the proof? If we don't believe in the existence of God, where is the proof? For want of evidence, for want of substantial proof, nobody is able to be a pakka theist or a pakka atheist. We are in between agnostics. An agnostic is a person who is ignorant. I do not know. Does God exist? I do not know. Do you mean to say that God does not exist? No, I do not know. I don't have a proof for either of them. I do not have the enough evidence to prove their existence or non-existence. And Swamiji was an agnostic. To develop his intellectual abilities, to have the knowledge of truth, he went on studying books initially. Right from early childhood, he was fond of knowledge. He was fond of study. He used to go to the libraries, read all the books in all the subjects, more so pertaining to philosophy and spirituality. He always entertained the hope that he would have substantial answer for his question, does God exist? He was not able to get a sufficient evidence from any of the books. The theoretical knowledge is not sufficient to make him believe in the existence of God. he started asking people whenever he came across a sage or a saint, whenever he saw a sadhu or a scholar, he raised this question, Sir, does God exist? Have you seen God? Everywhere he was disappointed. No book was able to give a good answer to him, an affirmative answer to him, nor was any person give the substantial affirmative answer to him. He grew thereby. He was in Scott Church College, Scott Christian College in Kolkata, the principal of which is Professor Hastie, Hastie. He was an Irish gentleman. The day was very propitious for Swami Vivekananda. Professor Hastie went to the class of Swami Vivekananda when he was in BA class. By then he was not yet Swami Vivekananda, he was only Narendranath Datta in BA class. That class was meant for English. The professor of English who was to engage that class was absent, he was on leave. The classes then were not cancelled if any lecturer or professor was on leave. There was always a substitute teacher or professor to engage the class profitably. Since there was no substitute teacher also available, Professor Hastie himself went to the class. In those days, the collectors were all foreigners, the magistrates were all foreigners, and the principals of the colleges were also foreigners. The principal of Swami Vivekananda's college then was Professor Hastie, an Irish gentleman. He was very good at English. His pronunciation was very sweet. His teaching abilities were excellent. When he went to the class, he found the boys welcoming him. He asked, "My dear children, what is the class going on?" The boys replied, "It is Wordsworth's excursion, sir." Where did the teacher stop? At a particular place. Professor Hastie took that particular part where the lesson was stopped, and in that part there was the word trance. Now, it is the responsibility of the professor, Principal Hastie, to explain the meaning of the word trance, Trance. Students were not very well versed in English. The teacher was not very familiar with Bengali. There was the language barrier, but the word was a profound word worthy of being explained. Professor Hastie tried his best to make the word understood by the students. It is a sort of tanmayam. It was a sort of paravashyam. A devotee, while visualizing the divinity, while enjoying the presence of God in the mind's eye, would be experiencing a strange state of ecstasy, a strange state of bhakti. When a person comes to know of the truth of this world, truth of the life and death, there would be a sort of revelation. That revelation would create an exultant, happy state, and that was a trance. However much The person, Professor Hasty, was trying to explain the meaning of trance. It was not to his satisfaction, nor was it to the satisfaction of the students. Trance is a state in which the person is beyond body, mind, intellect equipment. The body becomes light. Mind does not waver anymore. Intellect is illumined. There is effulgence. There is extraordinary brightness. There is exultant happiness. It is beyond the pleasures of the body. It is beyond the emotional enjoyments. It's beyond the intellectual happiness. It is beyond the serene peace. It is something that cannot be explained. It is something that it cannot be described. Something that cannot be defined. Agrahyam, akhandam, anantam, advitiyam, achintyam. Such was the wonderful state. When the person goes to that state, eyes become half closed. Ardha nimilita netra. It is not sleep. It's not wakefulness. It is a state of awareness, blissful awareness, happy awareness. And that state is described by Wordsworth. When a person is in the nature, looking at the clear sky, looking at the vast ocean, feeling the presence of the gentle breeze, sitting in a garden of flowers, enjoying the scenic beauty, a person's heart would be elevated. There would be a divine insight into the creation. That state is a trance state. In the person, we find a sort of glow, a sort of radiance, a sort of ojas. It is full of tejas. Any number of words Professor Hasty used, he was unable to give the full impact of trance. He was unable to describe the meaning of trance, that paravashyam of a devotee, that paravashyam of a jnani, that paravashyam of a person who has reached the highest state of samadhi cannot be described in words. At one stage, Professor Hasty said, "My boys, if you want to understand the sweetness of Rasgulla, no words will give you the full impact. You have to take a ball of Rasgulla. Rasgulla is white. Rasgulla is round. Rasgulla is soft. Rasgulla is juicy. Rasgulla is sweet. Any number of words will not give you the full experience, thrill of Rasgulla. The best way is to bring a ball of Rasgulla, put it in your mouth, and then you will have the thrill of it, taste of it, the sweetness of it." Similarly, trance is to be experienced, and there is a person who enjoys that ecstatic state of trance, that tanmayatva state, that state of paravashyam, bhakti paravashyam, and he is just beyond that river. There is a village called Dakshineshwar, and in that Dakshineshwar there is an ashram. In that ashram you will find Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, an elderly gentleman. he will be very often found in that state of trance which Wordsworth describes in his poem. Swami Vivekananda seized the earliest opportunity. He went to Sri Ramakrishna. Prior to visiting Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he visited Devendranath Tagore. Devendranath Tagore is father of Rabindranath Tagore. Devendranath Tagore is considered by everybody as Maharshi Devendranath Tagore. Swami Vivekananda, as an inquirer after truth, as a rationalist, as a questioner, as a person of curiosity, proceeded to Devendranath Tagore, greeted him with all courtesy, and told him, "Sir, I am a seeker after truth. I am an agnostic. I am also a skeptic. I would like to have my question answered by you. My question is very, very simple, sir. The answer can be only yes or no. I don't want you to give me the answer in a roundabout way. My question is very simple, and your answer can only be yes or no." Devendranath Tagore felt that he would very easily answer any question. After all, this is a young boy, and his question will be very simple. I shall be in a position to answer, he thought, and he asked that boy, Narendranath Datta, "My boy, you are free to ask." Narendranath Datta raised the question, "Sir, does God exist? Yes or no? Have you seen God? Yes or no?" Now, Devendranath Tagore has the problem first time in his life. He cannot give the answer in the affirmative, nor can he give the answer in the negative. If he gives the answer yes, the boy is very, very scientific, a great rationalist. He will not be unsatisfied with the affirmative answer. He will certainly ask for the proof of it, the evidence. If there is God, show me. If you have seen God, show me, he will ask. And Devendranath Tagore then will be in a difficulty not to provide the substantial evidence. On the other hand, he cannot give the answer in the negative. He is already known in the society as a Maharshi. How can Maharshi Devendranath Tagore can say there is no God, or I have not seen God? Therefore, he cannot speak negatively, nor can he affirm. And then Devendranath Tagore looked at Narendranath Datta much more intently, much more positively, and with the focused attention, he said, "My boy, you have very powerful eyes, poignant looks, searching glances. Your face is bright. There is tejas or effulgence in your face. You are sure to become a prophet. You are sure to become a messiah. You are sure to rise to great heights." Swami Vivekananda as Narendranath Datta was silent. "Maharshi ji, in the beginning itself I told you not to give a roundabout answer. My question is very simple. The answer also should be simple. The answer can be either yes or no. Please don't give me evasive answers. It is an escapist answer. If you do not know the answer, let us accept. I am sorry, I do not want these roundabout answers, he said. Then Devendranath Tagore is reported to have told, my dear young man, I know your urge to know the truth. I know your desire to see God. I know how serious you are in the search of truth. You are not an ordinary person. I am not the fit person to answer your question. There is only one man here, and that is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He is the right person to give the right answer to your right question. Please go to him. He will be in a position to answer your question. Narendranath Datta took leave of Devendranath Tagore. Two people have now given the name of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa as the right person to answer his question. One is Professor Hastie, the principal of the college where Narendranath Datta was a student. Another is Devendranath Tagore, a great scholar and a pious person. Swami Vivekananda, as a young boy, proceeded to Dakshineshwar, looked at Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa at a distance, gently, silently, steadily, with all curiosity and with all hope, proceeded to him, greeted him, and asked him the usual question, Sir, you look to be very pure. Your looks are pious. Your eyes are divine. There is something extraordinary in you which the ordinary people may not find. I find you to be worthy enough to answer my question. My boy, what is your question? And Naren said, it's very simple, sir. I want only yes or no reply. Yes, ask. And Swami Vivekananda raised his question, Sir, have you seen God? Never did Vivekananda expect a positive, affirmative reply. It was like a bullet. It was like a gunshot. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gave the reply, Yes, I have seen. Can you show? Yes, I can show. But are you ready? This was the initial conversation between Sri Ramakrishna on one side, Swami Vivekananda on the other side, which is a turning point in the lives of both, which is a turning point in the history of India, which is to awaken us all. May we see the progress of the conversation later. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine,